Somebody asked me if I was like MAGA. I kind of laughed at him. Let me tell you something. I would go to war for Donald Trump because I know this, I say this. I've seen him operate firsthand going directly against the deep state, liberal, communist influence inside the Pentagon, trying to railroad these American heroes and put them in prison. Absolutely. So I stand up for that guy. But I'll tell you something. If you guys have not seen the 90-minute interview the president did with Joe Rogan, how many of y'all seen that? If you haven't, go back and watch the whole thing. It takes you 2 or 3 sittings to watch the whole thing. Because the level of respect for that guy that I have for the president shot through the roof when you realize the command that he has of history and of engineering and of politics and of monetary affairs. We are taught, for example, we have been taught to despise, not to like terrorists. But the president pointed out, and think about this, from the 1880s until 1913, during the period of the greatest industrial revolution in the United States of America, until the passage of the 13th Amendment, there was 0 income tax. The entire explosion took place under a tariff system. And if I go to the United States Senate, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wage war against the Internal Revenue Service. We're going to have to attack this deep state with a vengeance. We've got 2 years of President Trump. What I mean by that, we have 2 years of Republican rule in the House and Senate. We don't know what's going to happen. They're already trying to use illegal lawfare through these crazy judges like Boasberg and Rays and others. So we're going to have to hit them with a vengeance. If I have a chance to go to Washington, I'm going to become the Democrat Party's worst nightmare. And when we run against Roy Cooper or Jeff Jackson or who the heck they run against, we're going to take it straight to the jugular. They will not know what hit me. I'm running for United States Senate against Thom Tillis. And let me just say, it is good to be back here in Orange County. I spent some time in Orange County, about 5 years here, trying to get out of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And one of the very few graduates ever to come out more conservative than having gone in, proving there is a God and it can happen. And by the way, I noted, I can't tell you how exhilarating it is to be in Orange County in the midst of patriotic conservatives, red-blooded Americans, America first, patriots first. And that gun raffle back there, that really gives me the goosebumps. I think we should take that gun raffle to Durham County and move it down to the corner of Franklin Street and Henderson Street and Chapel Hill. And we ought to have one right there under He's Not Here and just bug the hell out of the liberals and watch their heads explode. Greatest president of the United States in our lifetime, and not stabbed in the back at every nook, corner, and cranny. And I can tell you one thing, I've battled for President Trump. I serve alongside Sidney Powell. I serve alongside former Chief Justice Mark Martin in North Carolina and others in battling the election steal of 2020. And if anybody here thinks Joe Biden got 80 million votes, I'll sell you some tropical property in the Aleutian Islands. How's that sound? It did not happen. But we have to have someone to stand behind the president's back. And because what President Trump has done is he has stopped the bleeding and he's given us a chance to recover. But now the question is, I'll close with part of the preamble to the Constitution. The final charge is that we must secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That's what the founders have caused us to do. Will we fight to secure the blessings of liberty? Or will we do what the Democrats and the rhinos want and just run the clock out so when Trump's gone, we go back to business as usual? I say let's preserve liberty. Love you all. God bless. Thank you. And the election of Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen, is a great victory for America. Okay? It's a great victory for freedom. In fact, I believe the Lord has given this nation a reprieve with President Trump's election. We are on the absolute verge of tyranny. I had a book, y'all don't know anything about me, I had a book released, I had a couple of books come out. I had a book released back in October called Kangaroo Court. And it's about how the Democrats use lawfare to attack the Constitution. If you hear any Republican ever, or anybody who says they're Republican ever talk about convicted felon, talking about President Trump, you ought to kick him out of the party. There's not one single prosecution that was ever brought against the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, that was legitimate. These are all attacks against our Constitution. And this is how close we were coming to losing everything. You don't think that would have continued if Kamala Harris had wormed her way into the White House? Every one of us would have to be worried about them at some point knocking through the doors. That's how bad it's gotten. They're prosecuting us for our speech. They took Twitter, they took Facebook, and they used these social media organizations as the jack-booted steel boot of the government to basically suppress free speech. And they were trying to criminalize free speech. We've been given a reprieve. Now, the question is, what are we going to do with this gift we've been given?
Well, thanks, Lanny and Jim. Thank you for Cabarrus County. I wish every one of you could be up here. What are you doing, Jay, in the back here? Hey, Jay. I wish every one of you could be up here and see how good you all look. Okay? Cabarrus County, you are days of thunder. You know what I mean? And you guys roar from the right. We need for you to continue to roar boldly and stand boldly for the United States Constitution. Do not be shy about the fact that this is a constitutional republic, and our founders understood. That's right. Our founders understood in framing the United States Constitution, drafted primarily by James Madison, that the power of the government, and this goes to every level of government, and the freedom of the individual are inversely proportional to one another. Therefore, we must flip the power of government when it is out of line and recognize that ours is a constitution that limits the power of government and puts shackles on excessive government.
If they're going to try this again, they're going to have to worry about the next time there's Republican Attorney General. And I think right now there's some ways Pam Bondi could even try right now their conspiracy against rights theories, and I think she should go after them and nail them everyone to the wall. The only way, you cannot play nice with the Democrats, you can't reach across the aisle anymore and do wine and cheese, you got to bloody their noses.
That the deep state of the United States government is a criminal racketeering enterprise, and it must be brought down. It must be brought down, and we have to wage war against it. We've got to wage war against it and take it down. There can be no compromise. And I can tell you something. As much as I love what our great president is doing, and I would go to war for that guy, he's pardoned two of my clients, including one Jay Sixer and another young man named Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, who was in Afghanistan, prosecuted for murder under the Obama administration. Pete Hegseth and I worked very closely together for a year and a half to get the president's pardon. I would have gone to war for Donald Trump and still will, but I'll tell you this. Let me tell you this. You said, Michelle, 2 years, maybe 4 years. But our Congress, our Republican Congress has been weak. Our Republican senators have been weak. Understand that the constitutional scheme is Article 1 is the Congress of the United States, not even the President of the United States. They've been weak. Look at this $37 trillion national debt that we have. And if you want to talk about a ticking time bomb, the national debt will take us down.
I love you all, but I want you to understand, as some of you do, that there is a great philosophical dividing line out there, and there are two camps. And the future of this nation is going to depend on who prevails. On one side, we have a philosophy of America first, American nationalism, based upon the Constitution of the United States of America, undergirded by what we call a biblical worldview philosophy. That's where President Trump stands. That's where I stand. And on the other side, we have this philosophy of globalism. It's undergirded by something called the Humanist Manifesto and other documents like the UN Charter, WTO, the Paris Climate Accords. They want total globalism. And what happened with these rules of engagement are globalist. This United States Senate race may be just the most important in the history of the state of North Carolina. I really love Hunt v. Helms back in '84 when Jesse took care of business. But in this case, this race is crucial, not just because the balance of the Senate may be hanging out there, but also because this is going to be the first shot that we take, and right here in North Carolina, to send the signal as to whether or not we're going to be content with the status quo
then we're going to let the Democrats and the rhinos run out the clock and hope that Trump is gone and go back to 37, 38, 39 trillion dollar deficits? Or are we going to take the torch of freedom and march forward? And yes ma'am, have at it.
Across North Carolina, why do I need to vote?
I'm not a globalist. I'm America first. Everything that I will do will be about putting the nation first. I'm not going to go against our president on tariffs. I'm going to support what it takes to build this nation and support our Constitution. I'm not going to support kangaroo court prosecutions that Democrats supported. I'm going to protect borders. You see, with Tillis, when he's opposing a national emergency at the border and all this HB1 and everything else that they've done, it's about globalization. I am not a globalist. I'm an American nationalist. And so there's a basic difference in our philosophies. And that's what I'm going to do my best to articulate. And whether I can or can't, it's going to be up to a lot more than just me.
Yeah.
But is it going to be America first or globalism? George H.W. Bush talked about a new world order, okay? And then Clinton comes in with his junk. They have been doing everything they can to undermine this country and go globalist. When I was in the U.S. Navy, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it. We had three chaplains. We had Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish. George W. Bush then brings in everything under the world, and now they had a daggone Wiccan shrine at the Air Force Academy. That's the type of globalism crap we've had with our own party. I represent the legacy of the Founding Fathers. Limited government. We have to cut government. We have to take it down. Yes, sir.
I thank you so much. I love what you're saying, and I feel like probably a fair chance that we can beat Tillis. But the rumor is Roy Cooper is going to be running as your opponent. Can you turn this into what's the game plan there?
Bring him on, baby. Bring him on. That guy will never forget. Let me tell you something. The last time I saw my daddy alive was looking through the outside of a nursing home because that son of a gun issued an unconstitutional mandate to keep people away from their family members. And he's going to hear about that every day. And he's also going to hear about every one of those murders that they do. He will never get bring more people on to burn down.
The electricity of patriotism in this room tonight. I know we have philosophical disagreements, but thank God we have the right to have these disagreements, correct? Yes. Now listen, tomorrow is April 12th. 1 week from tomorrow is April 19th. Does anybody here in this room know the significance of April 19th in American history? We got any Marines in this room? 1 week from tomorrow marks the 80th anniversary of our 3rd, 4th, and 5th Marines storming the beaches of Iwo Jima, beginning a 90-day attack against the Japanese to take that island and rout it out. And just 9 months before that, the 75th Rangers, the 101st Airborne, the 82nd Airborne stormed the beaches at Normandy. These were great American victories. But we knew the war was not over. And it is true also with the election of Donald J. Trump. The election of Donald J. Trump is one of the greatest American victories since World War II. In fact, it may have actually saved our republic. We were slipping on the verge and the fast road to totalitarianism, but the good Lord gave us grace and gave us a break. And I tell you one thing, the question for us tonight is this: are we going to save our country or not? We're still facing a $37 trillion national debt which threatens the United States dollar, which will bring us down as fast as Britain went down when they lost a pound sterling. We are still seeing the effects. I was in Cabarrus County the other night and I asked the question, where's our textile industry? Where is our furniture industry? I asked in Forsyth County. Because the Democrats with their foolish policies and the Clinton administration through NAFTA, for the most favored nation status for China and the World Trade Organization, all gone with the wind. Isn't it interesting the way the Clinton Foundation makes so much money from tariffs? And I tell you one thing, President Trump is dead right on tariffs. The senior senator from North Carolina is dead wrong. That's right. All right? Because we have got to save not just our jobs, but our manufacturing. You cannot have won World War II if these idiot Democrats had flushed our industry out before we begin to make tanks and ships and weapons of war. We must bring our country back. The stock market will take care of itself.
The New York Stock Exchange cares nothing about whether we save the United States of America. 3 things. We must send a senator to Washington, D.C., worthy of stepping in the footsteps of the great Jesse Helms, who will not stab our great president in the back. You know what I'm talking about? Secondly, we must wage war against the administrative state and take it out. There can be no compromise. 2/3 of all federal employees must be released. 2/3 of all administrative agencies gone. And finally, the reason that they are able to fund this deep state, the IRS must be abolished. This tax system must end. I will battle in the federal tax forever. And I'll be behind your president's back. We need your support. God bless.